been the longest relationship I've had.
My dad's had that motorcycle for, well, longer than I've been alive, for sure. Way longer than I've been alive. When did you first, come across it?
When I was working at Sports Shack down in Colorado in Boulder, it was a guy there named DeWitt and another guy named Boone, and they decided to build some motorcycles. It's probably in '74, and started building them in the back of Sports Shack. Boone knew a little bit about painting. I was in the machine shop, and so they had me do some of the machining, and Boone and them did the painting. A couple of the guys in town. It was all done, all pieced together. The engines and transmissions came from Kansas. The frames came from another place, and the whole thing was just, back then it was just go find parts and put it together.
How'd you find the parts?
Just through people. You go around and you look, it was one of those things. Back then there was a source where you could get it out of California. I think it was called A&A or something. And so we were getting front ends out of there. But you'd get wheels and just get them chromed, get stuff chromed, clean it up, chrome it, put it on. And that's how you built them back then.
Holding on to one of these for 51 years, it seems like a long time, but I guess all you have to do is not sell it. And a bike like the one my dad has, it's kind of changed a bit. Each change is a story. How did it get to what it is now? I know the front end is different.
I was going down West Linden and went to take a left, and the crown bolt, it was a bolt that goes through the frame, holds the front end on.
Yeah.
It snapped. A 1-inch bolt, and it had snapped. It was old, it was from '58, and we put a girder on it. Probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. We probably should have got a new bolt put in there after all that time getting beat around. But anyway, it snapped, and when it did, the front end went up, it cantilevered up and knocked everything down into the tank. It had a Sportster tank on it that was all molded in. Everything was molded. Everything was freaking molded on the damn thing. And it smashed that, and the bike went down, kind of under a car, and I got it out of there, and I rode it home, put it in the garage, and I was like, shit, that really sucks. Put it on a lift, and started taking it apart, and so we redid the frame and everything. It took quite a while. Took it up to Hog Wild. He painted it. We repainted it black and did the molding. And the second time we did the molding, did fiberglass on it, so that's what it is now. Put the girder back on. It remained chopper then. Ran that for quite a while. And then what happened to it? I don't know if I crashed it again or something. I don't know. I don't think so. I think I just decided it was time to redo it or something. That's when I decided to put the bigger tanks on. The 5-gallon tanks. So I put them on, and they're customized. They sit on there different, all that. Took the seat off, put a different seat off, changed this, changed that, and I put on a wide glide front end. We shaved the ports down on it, the lower tube, because we didn't need brakes, And then I came across the front end that's on it now, an old 1940s Springer, and that's the way it sits now.
My dad has a lot of dad lore around that bike. One of the coolest bits of dad lore involved this picture. I don't know when the picture was taken, but it was in Easyrider magazine back in the day, and he still has the copy. And I don't know if I've ever actually asked my dad how they took the picture.
I think that was in the early 80s. Well, I was going up the canyon, and the high flyer Eric was on his bike going up, or he was actually on his dad's Harley. He was on Lou's Harley, but he had JD sitting backwards on the back of that, taking pictures, and it was me, Mike, and Chris riding up behind, and JD was taking pictures of everybody. It was a good picture, and I sent it into Easyrider in the In the Wind segment on it, and they accepted it. They put it in.
Wow.
So that was pretty good.
The day I drove this home, it started leaking oil. And I'm sure any old motorcycle is going to have problems. I think you just got to figure out how to deal with them and figure out if the problem's worth keeping the bike, or if it's something you can fix permanently, or if it's going to just happen over and over and over again. And can you deal with it? It's a relationship. Like you said, it's a relationship. What were the biggest frustrations, I guess, when trying to ride it or build it or change it? Or because it was old, did it make it kind of easy to...
It's always been a difficult motorcycle to start. Once it starts, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always been a different one. when we'd go out riding and like that, the guys would always say, okay, get ready to go. And I'd go out to get the motorcycle going, and everybody would go get another beer. You know? When they heard my bike running, they would come out because it was always difficult. And one time I'm kicking the motorcycle, and Eric's there, and he's just sitting there alongside, and he's just waiting. And I used to put a rag in the stack. It used to have a stack on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that is? There's no air filter or anything.
Yeah.
Used to have that on it. So you'd put a rag in there to make sure nothing fell in there when you were gone. I'm kicking, and finally Eric walks around and pulls the rag out of the stack and throws it at me. That was fun. But yeah, it was always difficult starting it. But other than that, it's a great running, great riding machine. Clutch is a little stiff, and it's not that hard to pull. You've ridden it.
The clutch was okay. It was fine. I was going down the street, and there were like some kids walking across the street, and I hit the front brake, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
There's like a kid in the road.
Those old Springer brakes, they're called parking lot brakes. What they were originally used, they weren't actually used for stopping. There's some people that can set them up and they'll work a little bit, but they're mainly for if you're at, so imagine you got a foot clutch, and you got a brake on your right, and you got a foot clutch on the other side, and you're coming up to a stop sign, and you're at the stop sign, and now you got to put it in gear. You got to have a foot on the ground, so you have to have a way to hold it in place while your right foot's on the ground and your left foot's on the clutch, and your it's doing this. So that's what that brake is for. It's not going to stop that front wheel from spinning.
There's no speedometer on it, is that right?
Yeah, well, the speedometer is it's a 58 speedometer, with base and everything. It's good. It's just the cable going down in it's something I need to fix. It's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't worry about it too much. It's one of those things.
I used to think restoring these old motorcycles or modifying old motorcycles was just kind of like a hobby, something to pass the time, something that was fun and cool. Clearly means something different to my dad and maybe other people who've worked on their motorcycle for so long. It's like a story that they bring with them throughout their life. So yeah, this video was about my dad's 1958 Panhead, but I wanted to make a video like this because I just saw him and I was a little bit inspired by it, but also because I'm going to start working on this, or really have started working on it. And for the next however many videos, it's going to be about this guy. And I'm going to get it running well in its stock form, and then I'm going to modify it a bit. And I'm not exactly sure what it's going to turn into, but when I get there, we'll find out. And because the point of this channel is to create motorcycle content and fix up motorcycles until it makes enough to pay for a motorcycle cafe where you can go and work on your own motorcycle a little bit, make sure to subscribe. Maybe this guy will be the centerpiece of that shop/cafe